They're here. The new AC-75's revealed. An impressive performance. A Southern Hemisphere showdown. Plus, we try out some new kit. And as always, plenty in Dog Talk. But first, here's a question. If you just spent 10 months and over 85,000 hours to build a machine that was your one chance of winning the oldest international sporting trophy in the world, would you do this with it straight after launching it for the first time? And after 7 days, would you be throwing in tacks and jibes in over 30 knots of breeze? I thought not, but that's exactly what Emirates Team New Zealand did.
Today we were just sort of getting a feel for the smaller sails that we had on, with the small jib and the smaller main, just looking at how they set up, and then also just the feel of the boat. The wind that blows over us in the cockpits is obviously a bit different sort of cant and heel angles and stuff like that. You know, obviously the boat's going significantly faster too, both upwind and downwind, so just getting comfortable to going that fast once again after sort of sailing in a bit of light to medium airs. And I think in terms of the way that the commissioning period's going here at the moment, we sort of started in some good medium air, some light air, and then obviously a breezy day today, rolling into some light air the next couple of days. So, you know, as a team, we really wanted to make sure we saw all the wind ranges here before we sent the boat up to Barcelona. So slowly getting through the jog list, which was great.
The Kiwi launch was always going to be especially interesting. This is the boat that the eventual challenger will need to beat to win the America's Cup. The confidence that the Kiwis have in this new machine is something else. They might not have set out to break any speed records on their first day, but to sheet in and fly just hours after the boat had hit the water for the first time is unheard of with modern Grand Prix machines. Be they inshore Maxis or offshore Moccas, there's too much to test and calibrate, and with so much money and time invested, there's too much at stake as well. So not only was it very impressive, but the defenders' behaviour lays down a marker to the challengers as to what they're going to be up against. And given that the America's Cup can at times be as much a psychological game as it is a sporting one, the launch of the new AC-75s has been fascinating. As it happens, the Kiwis weren't the first to reveal their AC-75. First to show their work to the world was Alinghi Red Bull Racing. This is a radical looking boat. Humps on the foredeck and cutaway topsides were the most obvious clues. The Kiwis were next to open the shed doors to reveal a design that looked more modest than we'd expected. But never underestimate the Kiwis. Their performance since winning the Cup in Bermuda in 2017 has set and raised the bar every time, where much of the really clever stuff has been out of sight. Next up was Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli with their Silver Dream machine. Good looks and a stunning finish are just what you might expect from this style-conscious team. But I'd also argue that this time around the Italians seem more comfortable and more confident than ever. So what's up their sleeve?
For day one it was a little bit too windy, so we decided to stop after a little bit of an upwind. So I think it's quite emotional because anyway it's a new boat and it was looking pretty cool. And I think once we're gonna put on the new foils, I mean it's gonna be a game changer compared these dinosaurs we are using at the moment. So I think if we are able to stick with our plan and we are able to tick off the boxes, everything we have on the list, we're gonna arrive in Barcelona ready to roll on. So I'm quite happy.
And then came Ineos Britannia. At first sight, their AC75 looks like it shares the broad overall style of the others. Fine entry forwards, wide flat sections aft. But look a little closer and there are areas that are very different. The change in shape around midships, the cut-off skeg and the position of the rudder are just a few clues to a boat that might be far more radical than she looks at first.
Yeah, we had a good day, got through tow testing, sails up. That's kind of what we had on the list for today. So yeah, there's smiles, and rightly so. You know, from where we were in AC36, we've got a bit of work to do, and you know, we hope that we've got a platform that's going to be capable of putting us in the fight. The America's Cup, it's the one thing that everyone's fighting is time, and I think it's, you know, today is certainly a milestone, and we're very much looking forward to getting sailing, and that won't be too far away.
As we record this, the Americans had just wheeled their new AC75 into the open. This is a boat that is very different indeed to Ineos. From the little we can see so far, she looks like she follows the smooth, rounded style of their previous boat, Patriot. Broadly speaking, her paint job is the most angular part of her appearance. It's often said that the one thing that every team is always short of in a cup campaign is time. So, since the launchings, and as we record this, the Kiwis have clocked up 12 days on the water. Ilingi Red Bull Racing have done 7, Luna Rossa 6, Ineos 3, with American Magic yet to go afloat and Orient Express Racing still to reveal their boat. Now, it's true that the Kiwis have to get their boat from New Zealand to Barcelona, which will lose them time. But I'd say, if Ours on the Water are a guide, the launch of the AC75s is already quite revealing. If you haven't seen them already, you can see individual reviews of each of these machines using the QR codes or the links in the descriptions. The beginning of the year saw SailGP head to the Southern Hemisphere for 2 events and plenty of drama. The pressure is always on for a home team to deliver, none more so than for Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew. Despite leading the overall standings, they were yet to win an event this season. Just a few weeks before, they'd finished 7th in Abu Dhabi, their worst position so far this season. Gusty conditions and a notoriously tough racecourse made life challenging for all, and after the first day of racing, it was Rockwool, Denmark that shared the lead with Australia. New Zealand, steered by Nathan Outridge, who was standing in for Peter Burling, was hot on their heels, just 2 points behind. But wherever you looked, there was action. Day 2 was equally intense, but by the time it came to the final 3-way race, it was the same 3 top teams, Australia, New Zealand and Denmark. In an intense, fast-moving race, there was plenty of drama, starting with Australia and New Zealand getting penalties at the start. Denmark took the lead. But the Australians fought their way back, and despite the Danes getting to within a boat length right before the final mark, it was the Australians who crossed the line first to take their first win of the season. A win in front of a home crowd.
It's hugely important, like just to us personally, like you start to doubt yourself when you get in that many finals and can't win, and you start to second guess, are we good enough to win these things? And especially when New Zealand have been doing so well lately, you start to question, are they better than us and all that. But just to win in Australia, like, you couldn't have written a better script for us. I mean, I really feel like it's a real sort of mark in the ground where New Zealand had 2 wins in a row. We were up against the ropes on our home turf, and just to be able to deliver like that, and now we head to New Zealand and hopefully the pressure's on them.
Next stop was Christchurch, New Zealand. A return to this spectacular venue should have been one of the high points of the season, but as the event played out, there was the wrong kind of drama.
Down a little bit, okay? Yeah.
The issues started with Emirates GBR and Rockwool, Denmark being docked 8 event points and 4 season points each for causing collisions. The British collided with Spain in a port and starboard incident. The penalty knocked Giles Scott's team from 6th to 8th place on the championship leaderboard, taking them a full 10 points from the top 3 spot that gives you a place in the San Francisco Grand Final. But by the end of what should have been the first day, it was clear that this had not been an easy event for anyone. Not least the organisers, who were forced to abandon the first day's racing after dolphins were spotted on the course.
Yeah, really challenging day for us today. You know, we have a marine mammal plan, and the plan was in place, and unfortunately it meant that we couldn't sail today. So yeah, really disappointed for all the crowd that's turned out. We had a capacity crowd in here today, super passionate Kiwi fans, and you know, they're going to go home and hopefully most of them can come back tomorrow.
Racing was able to resume on day 2, and it was an explosive start. First, the Danish team collided with the Canadians 30 seconds before the start, who were in turn bounced into the Americans. The Danes were deemed to have been at fault and lost 8 event points and 4 season points. But there was more to come. Just seconds later, the Australians collided with the first mark as they tried to avoid a major collision. With extensive damage and after just one leg, the normally dominant Aussies were out of the New Zealand event. But this was even more serious than it looked, leaving Slingsby and the crew shaken. Meanwhile, the battle continued for the rest of the fleet, and the race commentary team were following the action.
The first race goes the way of the home team. The Black Foils get the win in race 1.
New Zealand national Phil Robertson won the start for Canada in race 2.
The Canadians are going to have the fastest angle to Mark 1 on these big foils. They will control things. New Zealand out the back again.
I think I just became the favourite Kiwi.
Race number 2 at the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix goes the way of the Canadians with a Kiwi at the wheel.
Spain and France are going to be 1 and 2 at Mark 1.
An early jibe for France allowed them to sail into clean air all the way to victory.
Absolutely clinical by De La Pierre.
The Kiwis needed to overtake Canada to make a home event final.
Here come the Black Foils.
A crucial second place saw them arrive in the final with France and Canada. New Zealand managed to hook Canada at the start.
New Zealand, they attack the Canadians again. Does Robertson defend, or does he open things up? Perfect from the Kiwis there on the inside. They have control.
With the prime position at Mark 1, they never looked back.
By the end of the day, it was the Kiwis that finished the event on top, pushing them to the top of the season's leaderboard too. An impressive result for a team that is on a mission. It's not often you see Slingsby rattled, but when you hear his description of the collision, it's easy to see why.
A bit of a blur at the moment. It all happened so quick. We rounded the mark. We had 2 boats on our inside and 2 boats on our outside. We got told we were locked by Spain and couldn't jibe, and then we saw the outside boats jibe. Honestly, I don't really know what happened, but all I knew was we were going to hit Canada, and our bow was aiming right for their strategist, and I sort of had a choice to make, and I just tried to keep people safe and not hurt people, so I just turned the boat as hard as I could into the mark. I knew the mark was there, I'd seen it, but it was either that or go straight through Canada. And so honestly, I'm just glad no one's hurt, because it was pretty scary on board.
But this wasn't just about a nerve-jangling crash. The team has been the top dogs for a long time. With 8 points in the season championships docked from their scoreline, they now had a huge penalty to carry.
I don't think we should cop all the blame. I mean, my hands up, I'll take a lot of the blame, and we should be docked season points, but hearing that it's 8 season points, I don't... My first reaction, I found out 30 seconds ago, that my first reaction is that's not really fair. I feel like the event shouldn't have had those marks there, and it was a huge accident waiting to happen. But I'll take our liability in it all, but no, first impression is pretty harsh.
And as the arguments between the hosts and the organisers about the cancelled day and the Dolphins rumbled on well after the event had finished, what should have been a return to a spectacular venue had not played out the way everyone had hoped. But there was still plenty to celebrate. The Kiwis had delivered an impressive win at home and had lifted themselves to the top of the leaderboard.
It's been an absolutely amazing day. I think it's, for me, been the best day in SailGP history, hands down, and to come out on the right side of it after, you know, such a tight battle to get into the finals, something that we were just blown away by. The support's been unreal.
The trip down under had delivered 2 home wins and some very close racing. Having seen many of the new launches at this season's international boat shows, some of the latest are now hitting the water. Among them is Bavaria's C46, winner in the family cruising category in the European Yacht of the Year Awards. This is the 6th model in this range, and while the familiar brand styling is clear to see, there are a number of interesting details that also catch the eye. The fuller plumb bow helps to achieve more balanced and powerful lines, while at the same time increasing the volume below decks. The sail plan is taller and more efficient, with a self-tacking jib track on the coach roof, which allows a tighter sheeting angle. And at 2.3 metres, the keel is deeper with a lighter, slimmer bulb to achieve the same good stability, but on a lighter boat. Just a few items in the long list of design details that only really come to light on the water. Measuring loads in standing rigging has always been important, but it's never been that easy to achieve. Synapse set out to change that. Part of the North Sails group, Synapse is a load monitoring system that logs, displays, distributes, manages and stores all the data a racing team or superyacht captain might need. There are software tools that help with analysis too. The load sails themselves are built into the termination of Future Fibre's rigging, which means that the measurements are made in line with the load and the system doesn't require links. This also makes setup and calibration much quicker and more reliable. The Sailmon E4 processor lies at the heart of the system, which logs and distributes the data across a wide range of devices, from a live dashboard to the sailing instruments, phones and tablets. And when you're on a state-of-the-art machine like Raven, data like this is indispensable. For Doyle Sails, the Maxi World Championships in Sardinia is one of the biggest stages in the world. It's also where they've enjoyed a great deal of success over the years. But 2023 was something else. As always, the event took place in Porto-Cervo in Sardinia, where the conditions lived up to the reputation of this stunning location. In Division A, Doyle took the top 3 spots, with Galatea, Leopard 3 and Bullet dominating the class. In Division B, it was the same story, with Bellamente, Proteus and Pepe Cannonball leading the fleet. And in the Super Maxi division, Y3K took the trophy. Sometimes you don't need to say much more. Winning 3 of the 5 classes at the world's most prestigious Maxi Championships says it all. Among the outdoor shows you must go to, Annapolis should be high on your list. It's been around for over 50 years, and when you head out onto the pontoons, it's easy to see why. This has been and continues to be a must-go show in North America. From debuts for the world's big production companies to a true representation of the American boating market at its best, the range of close to 200 models and types on show in their natural environment is what makes this event stand out. There's even a 90-foot replica of a 19th century Baltimore clipper, and having been there many times myself, one of the best things about this show is that it's on the doorstep of a buzzing town. One day at the Annapolis Boat Show is simply not enough. In 1989, the 58-foot aluminium-hulled Maiden made headlines as skipper Tracey Edwards and her crew became the first all-female team to race around the world. 35 years later, Maiden hit the headlines again as another female crew, this time skippered by 26-year-old Heather Thomas, not only completed the McIntyre Ocean Globe race, but won it overall. In doing so, they're the first ever all-female crew to win an around-the-world race. 8 months earlier, the 14-boat fleet had set out from the Solent on a race designed to emulate the course and the spirit of the Whitbread race and mark the 50th anniversary of the original event. After 4 legs and just over 153 days, Maiden's crew crossed the Royal Yacht Squadron finishing line in Cowes. It was an extraordinary achievement. Among the multinational crew, few had ever sailed offshore and only one had ever been in the Southern Ocean.
Emotions, there's a lot going on. We had an amazing welcome coming here into Cowes, and which we're really grateful for everyone that came out to see us. And yeah, I think we're all really happy. I think we really achieved our goal of showcasing what women can do. We always wanted to show women what women can do and inspire the next generation of kids into STEM subjects and into sailing, and I think with the amazing role models we have on the boat, we've really achieved that, and I think we're doing pretty well. The leg itself didn't go so well for us. It probably was our worst leg overall, but yeah, we're still really happy, and hopefully we've done enough to get a good result in the end.
7 months earlier and before the start, I talked to Tracey Edwards about the project and what was behind the idea to send Maiden around the world again. Tracey, it is, first of all, it's great to see you. It's been a very long time since we last had a chat, let alone a beer. But there we go.
Has, yeah.
And it's been a long time since I stood on this foredeck, and that's very nice to be back on board the boat. I mean, first of all, you must be absolutely delighted. You must be so proud to see the boat back in this form.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've come a long way since we found her in 2014, rotting in the Seychelles, and she'd literally just been dumped there. So raising the money to rescue her, bring her back, restore her in 2017. I mean, that was a labour of love. But I couldn't let her end like that. So you know, putting together the world tour, raising funds and awareness for girls' education has just been fantastic. We've loved everything we've done. We've had 102 women through the Maiden sailing programme, which is fantastic. Some of them are on the crew now. Yes, we raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for girls' educational charities, funded them, and you know, sailing around the world, worked with girls' outreach programs as well. Got to sort of September last year, and we thought Maiden's probably got one time around left in her, as have I. So before we have to start spending ridiculous amounts of money on her, so we just thought one more time around. Now, what would be good to do? And then the OGR popped up, and we just thought Maiden's last race, yeah.
But you were all, before this, you were already going around the world, weren't you, on that programme? But then, as I understand it, the pandemic caused a few problems.
Yeah. So I guess in 5 years we've done over 70,000 miles. We've visited, I think, 34 destinations in 23 countries on 5 continents. We've had educational programmes all over the world, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, it's just been such a great new lease of life for Maiden. It's been a great mission and a really natural progression on from what we did with Maiden. So yes, it's about encouraging more girls to get out on the water, but girls' education is a passion for me. I was expelled from school, wasted my education that I get handed to me on a silver plate, that I'm lucky enough to live in a country that does that, and understanding, you know, 130 million girls around the world, add now the girls that the Taliban had taken out of school. And what the pandemic did affect, girls going back to school. You know, we've kind of gone backwards a little bit, so there's a lot of work to do, and we've continued to do that. And even while we're racing around the world, we're still fundraising for girls' education. We've sort of had a nucleus of a crew for about 2 years, and then we have apprentices on board. We call them our mile builders. We give them miles on the boat, gives them the experience to get on the big boats with the big money. And so what we also wanted to achieve this time around, though, because Whoopi Goldberg is one of our patrons, when she became a patron, she said to me, "Sailing is the whitest sport I have ever seen in my life." And I thought, she's right, and I've never really thought about it. She said, "Oh, it's unconscious bias. We all do it." She said, "But now you know about it." I thought, yeah, now I do know about it. So we changed the face of sailing once, so let's change this. Let's sort of jig it up again a little bit. So instead of looking in a sort of a quite shallow pool of amazing female sailors, we looked all over the world. And for us, the mission was to have the most ethnically diverse professional sailing team to ever race around the world. and we have achieved that. So that's another mission and another first. Oh, they also want to be the first all-female crew to win an around the world race.
So that'll be job done then, on multiple fronts. "600-mile races are pretty popular nowadays. The Rolex Fastnet race, the Caribbean 600 and the Middle Sea races are three good examples. Recently there's been another. The Rossier Baltic Sea Race is starting to turn heads. The race starts in Helsinki and takes the fleet around Gotland and back on a course that is as well known for its stunning Scandinavian scenery as it is for its varied weather conditions. And while I Love Poland took line honours in 2022 after 3 days of racing, a Finnish family and friends crew aboard their 32-foot H323 Silver Moon won the race overall on handicap. But this is also a race that's appealing for another reason. Given that it's run at the end of July in an area that's famous for the midnight sun, what it doesn't have a lot of is darkness, which suits many of the crew perfectly. The development of code zeros and flying head sails has led to a big leap forward in reaching performance for pretty much any boat that flies one. But it's also put pressure on the development of suitable materials to get the best out of these sails. To help achieve this, Dimension Polyant has been working on a new cloth style, CZ Uni Black. The construction of the new material is based on their CZ fabric, but the warp yarns are replaced with a Tyroply warp-orientated unidirectional sheet. In addition, the light woven taffeta has been replaced with a new black woven version that has been produced with spun-dyed yarn. The result is a sail that not only performs well thanks to its light weight, but is robust with it. Melges know a lot about one designs. Hugely popular in the States, they've also produced some very successful classes like the Melges 24 that have gone truly international. Most recently there's one that has exploded onto the scene, the Melges 15, a two-person hiking performance racing dinghy. Designed by Rykel Pugh, the same designers as the 24, the 15 has a high aspect ratio sail plan with a square top mainsail and an asymmetric kite. And while this looks racy, it's her hull form that speaks volumes. Although she's said to be easy and well balanced upwind, her ample beam is carried through to the transom on flat sections. This is a downwind flyer that has plenty of inherent stability to match. But perhaps what is most important is that the 15 was designed specifically to appeal to the widest age and ability groups possible. And if the rapid growth of the fleets in the States is anything to go by, the Melges 15 has hit the spot. If you've watched episode 30, you'll have seen the story we ran about Henry Lloyd and how they felt the need to reinvent their famous time-honoured brand. Executive Chairman Knut Frostad explained why they felt now was the right time to go back to basics and build on the company's long and distinguished reputation. Such a major investment and commitment for such a well-established marine business piqued our interest. So, having found out what was behind the change in the first episode, in the second we go out to find out what some of the new kit feels like for real, and that's what's coming next. It's early in the year. The season hasn't quite got underway yet, but there are plenty of people getting ready for it. It's also a bit of a drizzly old day. It's a bit cold too. Perfect conditions to talk about clothing. In the previous programme we've been given the lowdown on what was new in Henry Lloyd's range and how this represented a big step for such a time-honoured company. Now it was time to put it to the test. Morning Mark, you right?
Morning Matt, good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So, we now know what Henry Lloyd have got on offer for this year. We've seen it in their showroom, we saw it at the presentations at Metz. But we came up with a plan. We thought that given that we've accumulated a lot of kit over the years, and a lot of it turns out that it's Henry Lloyd kit. So we thought, what better a way to evaluate the new kit, but to judge it against the old kit, our old favourites. And it looks like you've turned up with one of yours already.
Yeah, this is a jacket that I live in, both on and off the water. And yeah, something I'm in a lot of the time.
Yeah, it looks a bit smarter than mine. I do live in mine as well, and unfortunately the lighter colour means that it actually shows just how much I've lived in it. But anyway, we'll ignore that for the time being. Right, now, I see you've got a bag of kit there. I've got my bag of kit here, slightly larger bag. But I think we should go down to the boat and go and find out what they've got in store for us.
Sounds like a great idea.
Let's go and do it. How come your bag's so much smaller than mine?
Oh, generally I cycle to sailing and I've got to make sure that my kit fits in the backpack.
Mine usually goes in the hold of an aircraft, as you can see.
Got the tags on
It's still got the tags on it. It's a bit battered. Do you know what? I'm a bit worried when I open this bag, he's going to laugh at my kit because it is pretty old. Is yours newer than mine?
Look, we've got a collection of kit throughout the years. It's going to be what it is, so we'll see what it's like.
I think he will laugh.
Mark, good morning.
Hey Ross, good to see you.
You too.
Morning,
Matt,
morning.
come on board, let's go.
Well, the vast majority of what I do is inshore, round the cans racing, and so I'm always trying to travel light.
Definitely.
And so I've got my salopettes, pretty lightweight.
Trusty shells. Excellent.
My base layer top. This is something that I wear for a lot of things.
Yeah, not
running,
just sailing.
Running, cycling, absolutely everything. I love that top.
I reckon that's probably getting on for 10 years old now as well.
I've got some base layers for the bottom half as well.
Yep, pair them up.
And then a good pair of deck shorts.
Always important for summer, winter, autumn sailing as a layering piece, definitely.
That's a ridiculously small amount of clothing. I mean, come on. You've got to have a bag like this.
The whole idea is not to have a huge bag.
So we've got
travel light.
So we've got a lightweight racer in this corner then. What have we got in your bag, Matt?
Well, as you can see, I'm a bit more greedy with the space.
The skipper would not be happy.
Well, yeah, exactly. Good job he's not on board yet. I came in an authentic bag. I hope you
Very good.
noticed that.
Thank you.
This bag, I can't imagine how many miles it's done, but I don't know. You'll know how old the bag is, but I've had
Again, you're looking at over 10 years old there with that bag as well.
It must
It's
be.
doing you very well.
And it's been around the world several times, still got its tags on it. Anyway, now look, the first thing, I don't want you to laugh at this, but the first thing is this jacket, which it's a deck jacket I wear a lot, and it is embarrassingly dirty.
Quilted deck jacket, fleece line collar. Yeah, just
love
your
it.
everyday trusty companion.
It is on board. Because you know, one of the things I really like about it is I like the fact that it's quilted on the inside, so it's easy to get on and off. Because when you're wearing a fleece, and then you've got another fleece material on the inside, they sort of get stuck on each other.
Interlayer binding. Yeah, donning
Yeah.
and doffing clothing is one of the key things we try to get rid of, any friction between layering,
Right.
just to make things a little bit easier on the boat.
Yeah, well, I love that. So if there's a replacement for that, I'm definitely up for that.
Noted.
Now, like Mark, base layers, these, it's a good job we're outside, to be honest, because these get used a lot.
H them.
Yeah, my wife won't even touch those.
No,
but
I've got just the current replacement for those. For
excellent, good, because they are superb, and like Mark says, wear them all the time. I wear them sailing, wear them motorbiking, wear them flying, skiing. They're absolutely superb, so love them.
Perfect,
So I
top
have
and
some.
bottoms.
Now, but my absolute favourite, and my family knows if they go anywhere near this stuff and try and borrow it, they know what the answer is. This is my favourite. I don't even know what the name of it is.
Offshore Elite.
Is it?
Yeah.
I remember getting it. It was quite some time ago. I've got a feeling it 8-9 years ago, something like
Easily.
that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I love it because it is so. I know when they first showed it to me, I thought, oh, that's too light. That's never going to work offshore.
Yeah,
It
an
really
unlined shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, no mesh lining on the inside. Keep it light.
Yeah, it is so light. You can move around really easily. It breathes. It's waterproof. It's absolutely superb. I've done a lot of time in that, and I've got the
matching jacket.
And the matching jacket, yeah. And I would be very, very reluctant to move away from this.
Well, you sent me a little
Just
challenge.
saying that.
No, challenge accepted. You sent me a challenge. So it looks like offshore jacket, salopettes, mid layers, base layers. Let's see what I've got. Right, so Mark, for you today, we've got a few items which hopefully compare and improve on your current situation in that bag there. Starting from the bottom, working to the top, we've got our base layers designed with Odlo. We've got a top and a pant there. My current favourite deck short, our Explorer short. Our new coastal high fit. Another favourite of mine in the range is the Smart Therm mid layer, a true mid layer. It heats you where you need to be heated and allows you to vent where you need to vent. And then keeping you very, very dry is our 2-layer Biscay jacket with a mesh line.
That's light.
A lot lighter than previous versions. So again, from comfort all day long on long watches or long passaging, you don't want that heavy bulk over your shoulders. So from a 2-layer fabric, it's soft to the touch, still completely waterproof and windproof, tape seams, but you haven't got that added unnecessary bulk from the jacket, but still the features you need from a competent coastal piece of kit. I can see you looking. I guess you need some clothing as well too. No problem.
That's good, isn't it? I've not really thought about that before. I tell you, the other thing I think has really caught my eye already, zips. We didn't talk about zips earlier on, but the number of modern jackets and clothing that got those horrible small zips that corrode, it drives me mad.
On the reflector, I'd never thought about having it on the cuff.
No.
And it's always shoulders, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right. You're waving your arms.
It does. You're going to see me coming, aren't you?
So now we've gone from blue to orange. This is our 2024 Elite offshore kit in a jacket and high fit.
And this is, I mean, it's light, but this is proper offshore.
Proper offshore gear, large Cordura reinforced panels, especially across the hill and all the way around as well. And
why there?
So as you're walking around the deck and you're scuffing or you're in boots or whatever, it just adds more protection so you're not wearing away the bottom.
It strikes me that this kind of kit is, well, your kit is about flexibility, breathability, the rest of it. And to test that properly, I suggest that you're the one who's going to have to do all the hard work. Because this is much more the kind of kit that I can stand behind the wheel and test it that way.
So you're saying I'm on bow?
Yes. Now, one thing we should say at this stage is thank you. Thank you to SE Yachts and Simon Rosier here for arranging for us to sail one of his owners, Arcona 435. So, first of all, thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my
Simon.
absolute pleasure.
We did a test on this, didn't we, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, we did. Very similar conditions today, albeit probably about 15 degrees warmer.
Back then, you mean?
Yeah, back then, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Heading out of the Lymington River, we turned west for our first upwind leg. With the ebb tide sweeping us into the breeze, the sea state was picking up too. And while the Arcona made light of the conditions, the beat towards Hurst Narrows kept us busy. Once Mark had worked up a sweat, we slid downwind to discuss our first impressions.
The simplicity of the gear, you've got all of the features, but it's just nice and simple and just comfy.
That's one of the things that has struck me over the years. I mean, you and I have been to lots of boat shows, lots of presentations, seen lots of kit. And I don't know about you, but one of the things that has frustrated me over the years is that there seemed to be an obsession in the marine clothing world with adding unnecessary detail. And they would do it in the name of technical clothing. And yet it was more like complex clothing. There was too many fiddly bits that you couldn't really understand. And what I like about this is it's pretty straightforward. And it's the same with my favourite blue jacket. But I do like the fact that you've got big, easy to get at pockets here, nice and warm on the inside, another set up here. But you know where they are. I mean, we haven't tried it in the dark yet, but I can imagine actually with these highlighted bits, it'd be really good. But I like the simplicity. No, it's getting a thumbs up so far, that's for sure. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I quite like it to rain. Just because, feel what it's like in the rain. Any rain? Anyone?
It's February, it'll happen any time.
Let's stay out here long enough.
But no matter how much we egged it on, the weather remained dry. Typical. Instead, the breeze built, the temperature dropped, and the notorious Solent chop whipped itself up even further. And after several laps of the Western Solent, it was time to head back to take stock.
So, Mark, back on the dock, outer shell's off, we can see what you've been wearing underneath. Talk us through what you thought.
I've got to admit, this Smart Therm mid-layer is quite incredible. Here we are in the middle of February, and on the way in, and that last section that we did sailing, I felt absolutely toasty.
And it was pretty cold out there, wasn't it? It's pretty nippy.
We had 20, 21 knots. It was a decent breeze. The sun's come out a bit now that we're back ashore, but yeah, it was great.
What about the base layer?
I'm loving this. When you look at the base layer, it's a completely different material to what we knew. That synthetic-y feel has gone, and it feels far more natural fibre. And the shorts with this stretch are a complete revelation.
It probably doesn't look like a fireworks show when you take it off in the dark either. It's probably not so much static going off all over the place. But that's, I mean, Henry Lloyd are very proud about this new base layer, aren't they? Because this is from Odlo, which is in the same group of companies, or they're owned by the same company. So they've now got access to Odlo. My understanding is that Odlo are Europe's #1 base layer manufacturer. So this they see as being a big step forward.
It's a complete difference to what I had before. It feels like such a change that, bar going for a run now in my old base layers, I'll be fine, but I wouldn't actually want to wear them on the boat.
Well, I have to say, in this kit here, I've been very, very happy, like you, very warm, very easy to move around. Wasn't moving around quite as much as you, but you know, sometimes seniority and all that. But no, it's really nice. Underneath, it's all very good as well. The Cool Breeze, actually this Cool Breeze jacket, and when Ross gave it to me, I thought, oh really? It's a bit on the thin side. I mean, it's lovely. It's really nicely made, as you'd expect. And it's got this sort of fleecy kind of lining on the inside, but it's very thin. But it is actually really warm because it just blocks out all the wind.
But also, that's the kind of jacket you're going to be happy wearing ashore.
Absolutely.
As well as on the water.
Definitely. Absolutely no question about that. And that, I have to say, when we look at the stuff we brought down, you know, that's how I used all the other jackets as well. So I can see this one replacing that quite happily. And the active stretch, I mean, what an interesting replacement for a fleece. Because again, it's so thin. And you think, oh, I'm not sure that can do the job. But it certainly does.
So we've been through your kit bag, shown you the new versions, been for a blustery hack, tacks and jibes across the Solent for a few hours. Thoughts?
Very impressed, I have to say. I know we said it plenty of times out there, and indeed when we got back, but the thing that strikes you is so light and yet really, really effective. And for people who, I can imagine, because I was the same, for people who are used to traditional kit that's quite heavy, exactly, you sort of think, yeah, okay, this is very nice, but it's never going to work, but it does. And I think once you've experienced it, you become almost evangelical about it. It's like, well, I certainly wouldn't go back. So, no, very impressed. Good. But I do have one proviso. Is what do I do with my old kit?
So on our website, we have schemes where you can hand back kit that is still in fair working order, and the kit you've handed back goes into other schemes to help charities, foundations, etc. So just promoting that circular economy of kit so it can have a second life.
God, and I didn't know about that. I mean, that's very impressive. Crikey. Well, for a start, this bag's worth more than I thought then. And that shed I've got at home, crikey, that's worth a fortune. As always, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, it's free, and tick the notification bell so that you know when we've posted new content. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and of course our website. Stay safe, stay well, until next time.